Gary, no good this week?
No, he jagged his string in the last part of the game. I mean, he did obviously well to get through, and there's just been a bit of bleeding into his hamstring. So a bit like our theory with the young kids, I think the old ones, you've got to treat them much the same. If there's any doubt, let's rule them out. Again, like we did, probably my call early, jumping on him with his knee injury the other week. But I prefer him to miss a week rather than a month. So at this stage of the year as well. So it's a shame. I'm sure he's disappointed. Of course, he would love to have got down there and faced his old mob down there, of course, and probably the supporters and things like that. But I'm sure that's not going to change the Geelong supporters' frame of mind. They're still, I'm sure, going to turn up and expect the same sort of intent from Geelong. That's for sure.
Is it only 1 week, do you think, or is it?
Yeah, we'd hope so. I mean, it's unknown. As I said, he got through the game, and look, in his words, it actually pulled up better than it did the week before. So as I said, it was we didn't scan it the week before. He was comfortable with it, but again, as I said, the docs are a bit and the conditioning staff are a bit anxious about it, and I must say so am I. So as I said, it's shown up now. We've scanned it. There is an issue there. So let's modify his load and give him the week off.
Does he still travel to Melbourne though? Will you still give him that?
Yeah, no, he's going to come with a group because he might be able to draw a bit of heat off the on-field stuff with the supporters. But yeah, I mean, it's not putting him at a risk of missing next week. And if it was, he wouldn't travel. Simple as that. But the physios are comfortable that. And look, he's going to go early. There's a few of the other boys are actually going early to have a look and check in with some doctors and surgeons down there. So he's going to fly down early. There's going to be a physio go with him and with some of the other boys as well. And so he'll have ongoing treatment. So it's not as though he's not going down there and not having treatment. So and as I said, if it was a risk to fly him, he wouldn't be flowing.
Any other boys like to mention to us going down there?
Oh, well, I'm happy to say, look, Jeremy Taylor's going to play football, but there's a chance he'll need some surgery post-season. So, yeah, he's going to go down early. But, yeah, I mean, I'm happy for you to tell, Chris Scott that he'll be playing in a defensive role, that's for sure. But it's more of a post-season thing with Jeremy.
Does that make the trip more daunting that you're going now to Cardinia Park playing Geelong without Gary?
Oh, no doubt. It's you're missing your captain, and what Gary provides for us on field with his playing ability, with his leadership. Yeah, it makes it more difficult for sure. How much difficult is it? Well, again, as I said to the players today, it's he's 1/22nd of our group, so that's really all we're missing. Yes, he's obviously a quality footballer, quality leader. So that person comes in. Do we expect him to play like Gary Ablett? Well, we could be waiting 4 or 5 years for someone to play like Gary Ablett. But again, we're going to have a fit 22nd player come in, and we expect the same effort. We expect the same structures. And as I said, we do that. Well, who knows what can happen?
Guy, while there's no doubting what you're talking about, do you think there will be some boffins down south that might suggest that you're protecting Gary from the possible backlash from some fans?
No, I think Gary's big enough and ugly enough to put up with some backlash. I mean, he got booed up here against Collingwood. I'm still scratching my head. I don't know why that happened. So yeah, look, those things. And look, let's be honest. His decision to come here in the first place. I mean, ever since that decision was arrived at, I mean, he's copped backlash since then. Has it affected his performance? No. I know would have been more at Geelong, but as I said, why? There would have been a lot more backlash if he went down there and something went and he played a quarter or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And as I said, it's not Gary's call. This is a conditioning and a coaching call here. And I'm not doing that to protect him mentally. I'm protecting him physically. And I'm probably protecting the rest of the group for the rest of the year as well. As I said, it's tough as it was, but we don't come up and look at the fixture and say when players are going to miss. It's more about where their bodies are at. Blokes like David Swallow, Zach Smith and Trent McKenzie are going to miss games in the future as well. When that occurs, it's when their body tells us they need to have a spell. So that's going to happen. We don't look at the fixtures and say, we're no chance to win this week or a better chance to win next week, all those sorts of things. We don't sort of think about it in that way. It's more about when the body puts its hands up and it's a cry for help, we've got to listen.
So initial hope of having a settled team before the end of the season just disappearing by the week, really?
This time of year, yeah. I mean, the idea was to settle them through this period. Collingwood, St Kilda, Geelong and Brisbane. We thought they were going to be the big four for us to test our resolve. And I think, half of them have been good. 54 points against Collingwood. I think we've been averaging a 37-point loss since halfway through the season. We've brought that down from 67-point loss. And so to maintain that through this period, so far, with 20 points against St Kilda, we're still 37 points arrears on average. It's been good. And so we've tried to settle them as best we can. But for the sake of settling the side and Gary missing a week, it's an easy call to make.
So if you take some of the gloss and sideshow off the game that a lot of people have been looking forward to, is this almost a good thing though for the lads? I mean, you can focus on the game itself rather than distractions that would come with Ablett going back to getting your park?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it's certainly going to be a lot easier to settle the boys down. And look, I'm sure those boys were still thinking about, I'm sure Tom Lynch was still thinking about playing on Matthew Scarlett, so that doesn't change. David Swallow playing on Kelly, that's not going to change. Trent McKenzie playing on, Mackie or Bartell, that's not going to change. So their focus is, it's certainly going to be a lot easier for those boys to realign their focus for sure. And but who knows? There'll be some people that say the focus on Gary and Geelong returning, all that sort of stuff, might have been good for us because we could have focused on what you had to do, and Gary, I'm sure, would have been able to handle the other side of things very well himself. So, life goes on.
We saw what happened to Melbourne last week. They obviously had issues for quite a while, but it came to a head after a massive loss. Mentally, what would a massive loss in similar terms mean, do you think, to your young blokes? They're in probably a better situation to just move on because they know that this is a learning curve. Yeah,
well, we're on a journey. We've spoken about that. We know that as we have done this year, we're going to set some good records. We're going to set some bad ones, and that's life as a young side entering a very brutal competition. And but we talked about this morning about how Geelong have played not just last week, but how they've actually performed since midway through the season. How they're defensive. They're the second best defensive side in the competition. So we understand how difficult it's going to be to score. So okay, what do we have to do to score against them? Well, there's certain things we need to do. We just need to do it as best we can, and that's all we're going to ask, is to make sure that effort is there so we can score, and we can also put pressure on them. Gary's out, that makes it certainly tougher. But, we're still going to have 22 players. They're going to still have 22 players. So, it's a two-horse race, and as I said, we go down with the right frame of mind. We give ourselves a chance like we do most weeks.
In the light of obviously how many goals Geelong scored last week, AFL's moved the game forward 30 minutes. How do you feel about that? Obviously, because I worry about the game on end in darkness, with perhaps the amount of goals that Geelong might kick. Is that a bit insulting to the club, do you think?
Well, I haven't looked at it like that. My history down at Continue Park too, and I've been down there with West Coast many years before too, and it's not the brightest and shiniest place down there. When the wind and the hail sets in, it's fairly gloomy, and I have no doubt that's probably more the weather that's got a lot to do with that, and the lack of lighting down there. So I would think it's a smart thing. I mean, we're more than comfortable too. It means we get back to the Gold Coast, that bit quicker as well.
Does Campbell get another crack at Stevie J after he got off the train up here, Louis?
He didn't. I don't think he started on him. I certainly had periods of the game on him, but Stevie Johnson is, he's, from a forward point of view, he's probably no different to Gary and Chris Judd running around through the midfield. Scott Pennebury, Dane Swan, they're just very hard to contain. He kicked 7, and probably most of those did come out of the forward line, and we know what we're going to get with Brownie. We understand that. I know Brownie's attitude. He'd love another crack at him for sure, but Jeremy Taylor, for example, he may get a run and look at him as well. So we think we've got some options for him, but if he does start forward, I think one of Mick's old analogies, you starve the stomach, you've got to cut the throat. And I think that's where, if we're any hope, we've got to sort of match ourselves in those contested and the clearance situations. And again, if we pump the ball forward more times than they do, well, Stevie Johnson hopefully won't kick his 7 goals like he has done over the last few weeks.
Odds, is one of the kids likely to pick him up again, just so you test one of the kids again, or Boffy or someone?
Who's that?
Pods.
Oh, I get one of the big boys. Rory Thompson's. He's developing really well. Yeah, I think we understand what we get from Nathan Bock. He's been in some great form, and there's a lot about developing the players, but there's also about developing those players, giving them a chance, and giving them the side to win a game of footy too. We've got to weigh all those sorts of things up. But with Rory, Campbell Brown, even Jeremy Taylor, he's 191 but can play tall. So I think we got some tall boys that can play tall if they have to, and also Jeremy and Brownie against a certain small opponent has proven that he can play fairly well.
Louis, from your match earlier in the year against them, which half do you reflect back on preparing for this match? Obviously, the first half you just did very well and scored quite well against them. The second half they ran over you. Do you feel reflected on one of those?
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, just because they're big bodies, I mean, it's, you know, it's like a featherweight taking on a heavyweight. You know, you're going to have your zip and your speed, and you're going to be able to move the ball on your terms and get a few punches and land a few punches early, and you just know eventually when the heavyweight gets you up against a turnbuckle, it's going to get ugly. And that was the pleasing thing out of that game, and that would happen in most sports, and certainly combative sports. You know, that bigger, heavier, older bodies is going to win out. So yeah, we certainly look at that first half and know and understand. I mean, we can move it quick. We got a quick side, but it doesn't help if you don't win the footy. And I think that again was one of the pleasing things. And I think Chris said that after the game. I think early in the game, I think we won the contested ball count, but in the second half, surprise, surprise, the older bodies got in and won it. I'm sure that'll be a focus for them, but it's also going to be a focus for us. What we can do is control what we have to do, and by doing that and winning the footy, well, you give yourself a chance of getting your hands on it and controlling the game. We can control Geelong by the way we own the footy. If we don't own the footy, well, Geelong get to dictate terms to us, and that's we're not going down to Geelong for that to happen.